Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahaviryankaravavahe, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dayakaram Dayakaram Dantam Dharma Pravartakam Pranamami Dayanandam Madacharya Param. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodhabhediyate. Sarva Vedānta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satgurum Pranatosmyaham. So we were seeing this Tattvabodha Vichara last time. It is inquiry into that. And after that, we have been seeing the equality or the equation between the two, between Tat and Tvam. So we are also understanding what the differences are on one level, and also understanding the unity on the other level. This is the contradiction that you see a lot in the Upanishads and the Shastra. How can I be that? That is a question that comes because I am small, I'm limited. The jiva we saw mistakes on two levels. That individual jiva, the individual self on the micro level, has a very subjective projection onto this world and onto oneself. It is the way I perceive myself that as karta, I feel, again, I am the doer in life and I suffer under the doership because when I become a doer in life, I am looking for results all the time. Doer means results. Why do I do otherwise? I don't do for nothing. Nobody does anything for just nothing. Everybody does for results. So it is this karta, the doer, that does for the results. And when I identify with this doer as an individual, what happens? I always have problems with others. I always have problems with the world because I'm left hurt or guilty. So we saw that the guilt and hurt is because hurt is actually, karta is guilt, meaning why did I do it? Why did I not do it? All of this is identification with doership. And I live, my own life. How do I live my life? As a karta, doer, I always run towards things I really like in life. I want certain things because desire arises in my head and I go after it. Nothing wrong. This is how we all function. And I run away from what I don't want. This is, again, another one of our actions in life. Or I can avoid what I don't want, again, to make myself happy. As karta, I want the experience of happiness only. Again, I act only for my happiness. I don't do anything for unhappiness. Everybody wants to be happy and they act for their happiness. act for contentment. So by avoiding what I don't want, also, what is the idea behind it? I want to be happy. And by getting rid of something I already have, which is making me unhappy, what am I looking for? Again, I'm looking to be happy. So these are the 4 types of actions this karta, jiva, the individual does. And the individual does for the other part we saw of what I identify with. And that is called bhokta, the experiencer or enjoyer. Bhokta is the one who feels I am getting this result, the one that feels up and down with the result. So 1 minute a negative result comes in the life, then I become depressed, I become low. Positive result comes, no problem. I have no problem with positive results. But we cannot always see positive, positive, positive in life. It doesn't work like that. So this karta works for this bhokta me. And this is all my life is actually. All of our lives is nothing but this. We go from being karta to bhokta, karta to bhokta. That's how we all function. And we wrongly, because we function like this, because the Shastra says there is wrong identification with the body, mind, sense complex misidentification, wrong identity. So you want to be joyful, but you're trying to get the joy from limited means. Limited world cannot give limitless joy. So that is why I'm constantly, it feels like banging my head against brick wall to get things my own way, to get things done my own way. The desires I have to satisfy, half of them, more than half, don't ever get fulfilled. Then I become frustrated with the world. I tried everything, why it's not working? I've done everything in my power, why I'm not getting what I want? All of this frustration, anger is pent up desires not being fulfilled. So as long as this jiva, the individual, identifies with this karta and bhokta, there is no freedom from this limitation. So this is the mistake I make on the micro level, on the self level. But I also make a mistake on the macro level, which is my vision of the world and of others. I am not clear really what the world is, what others are. Because even the world, when I have to face, it is my own projection on the world I'm facing. It is not really external world. The way I perceive the world is what I deal with in my head. It may not be the reality of what I'm really facing. And I constantly look to the world to satisfy my needs. I look for the impermanent world. We all have lived enough years on this earth to know nothing lasts. And we are constantly looking for this impermanent world to give some permanent sense of fulfillment, permanent satisfaction. The changing can never give non-changing. It doesn't make sense. It is not logical, and it will never happen. So on the macro level also, this jiva individual commits the error by clinging to things. I get attached to things. I get clingy to people, to situations, to everything in the external world, because I don't want things to change. I want to keep things with me for my own joy. But again, what do we discover? Things are not kept with me. I cannot hold everybody with me. I cannot hold people with me. Even my very own children, after a certain age, we all know that they will take off. They have their own lives to lead. They want to be independent. Am I willing to let them go? That is the question. When they are young, they depend on the parents. When they're young, they look to mother and father for help. They look for the direction in their life. But after a certain age, every jiva wants independence. Why? Because it is their own karma they have to live. They have to go on their own path in life. So by clinging to situations, people, attachments in our lives, relationships, we are not going to go anywhere, meaning we will go up and down with their behavior. If that is what the jiva wants to do, that type of life, that is called, again, samsara life, which means going up and down with the external world, depending on what results come to me in that present. So this transactional jiva, the one who interacts in this world, is put into this, Ishvara Shrishti, And I see myself as a victim of many victim of circumstance. I become victim because I see all the forces in, in the world are against me. I don't get all the time what I want. It is not possible at all to do that. And why don't I get what I want in always? Because there is another order functioning, and that is what our Shastra recognizes. It is an invisible order that is functioning. That order that is functioning is Bhagavan for us, is Ishvara for us. And what is that order that I have to accept in my life? That is the order of karma. Our Shastra speaks about it. All the texts talk about it. It is the order of karma and of dharma. It is only revealed in our scriptures. It is not revealed by science. It is non-verifiable as well. So the order of karma is linked to the order of dharma. When I do, we know this, when I do something, an action in accordance with dharma or the universal values, then I create a visible and invisible result for me. That is punya and papa. We've seen that punya are results that lead to pleasant situations for me in my life, in future or in future lives. Papa are results that lead to unpleasant situations for me in this life or in future life. So it is this order of karma that makes you, makes you gain what you want or not gain it, or you gain something else. We don't know. So many factors are at play, but the karma, order of karma, which is Ishvara, he is in the form of karma phaladata, the giver of the results of action. That order decides according to your past, present, and future, what is the best for you to gain in this moment. So that is very important to assimilate. It is this punya and papa that go into the adrishta account. They go into the bank account. They go in the form of unseen results of action. And this order of karma is what the text is going to take up next. What is this order of karma? Why do I suffer in life? That can explain a lot of things. It is this order of karma as a karta. If I'm identified with the doer and the experiencer, I definitely have to accept the order of karma. Once Atma is recognized, where is karma anyway? There is no karma for Atma. When the I notion shifts from doership and this experiencership, there is no problem with this order of karma. But as long as I'm identified with the individual self, the one who does action for gain, the one who does action for results, then I will have to accept there is an order here over my actions, and it is the law of causality. For every action, every seed I plant in the soil of karma, what happens? There is a germination of a plant of result. The plants of results will definitely accrue. They will come one day or another. So this, anything that is, this karma, this creates this results for me, maybe not in this life. That is why we say, what is happening to you in this life may not necessarily be with the action you have done in this life. It may be with the actions that have been done in past lives as well. So this jiva suffers with this karma all the time. We say baggage. This karma comes with us. And what is this karma? So the text actually says, first of all, before before going into that, the text says, Tasmat Karanat Jiveshwarayoho Beda Buddhihi. Here, swikarya, which means don't follow this Jiva Ishvara difference. Don't follow this difference that you see between you and Ishvara, because he is very much a part of your life. As I said, he's in the order of karma. He's in the order of dharma in your life. He's very much a part of your life. Don't see the difference all the time between you and Ishvara. Bring him into your life. This, whatever is manifesting in your life is the order that is Bhagavan. So the Avarana Shakti alone, this power of concealment is what hides him from your eyes, but he's very much there in your life. In every moment he's with you. So don't give credibility to difference. See what is real. See what Bhagavan really is. And this is called, this Bheda Buddhi means this, in this mind of differences, creating differences all the time. As long as I keep saying different, 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 I will suffer with all the differences in life. That is why our vision, I have to see more and more, there is only one reality, there is only one truth, and resolve all the differences in Bhagavan. So there's no such duality actually. And the samsara karanam is this, the cause for our samsara in life is this idea of difference, constantly seeing difference. There's another thing to bring up here when we talk about, before entering the karma topic, before we talk about the karma topic, another thing to recognize is that there are two creations here. When I see the differences, what is that creation? What is the two creations? You may say, oh, there's only one creation, that is Bhagwan's creation. How can I create? No, Shastra says there are two creations. Bhagwan's creation is what you see outside that you cannot change. The nature is Bhagwan's creation. Climate change is Bhagwan's creation. COVID is Bhagwan's creation. What I have to face is Bhagwan's creation. So many things, this is Bhagwan's creation. But what do I do on top of Bhagwan's creation? That is another type of creation that our scriptures talk about. So one is called Ishvara Shrishti, which is Lord's creation, which are things I cannot change, really. I fundamentally cannot change. It is what is provided for me as a, some place to interact, that is called Lord's creation. But we acknowledge another creation on top of the Lord's creation, which is called Pratibhasika Satyam. It is called subjective reality. The objective reality is Bhagwan's reality. What I have projected on it is Pratibhasika reality, is the subjective reality. And it is the subjective reality that I am facing on a day-to-day basis, which is here. I see a situation, it is colored with my background, it is colored with my way of thinking, it is colored by my patterns of thought. That background does not make me see objective reality, which is this universe. And this is important to understand, because this is where my sorrow and my suffering comes in life. Life has no way actually of giving you suffering. It is my projection on what life has manifested for me that creates suffering for me. I can not easily, I can see clearly, and I can learn not to become so reactive in life to situations, because that is when I acknowledge there is an objective reality, which is a fact. In fact, I always go back. You should read, in fact, the Stoics, the Greek Stoics. Bhagavan talks about this, Shastra talks about this objective reality, subjective reality. But that Stoic literature is very interesting, because they give actually ways that you practice it in your day-to-day life. The Stoicism, they practice this samatvam, they practice acceptance of facts. The definition of a fact is what? Something you cannot change. Something you cannot change, which is manifesting for you in your life, is called a fact. Now, I spend so much of my time trying to change these facts that keep manifesting. I am constantly battling against these facts that keep coming. Fact is a fact. It cannot be changed. By resisting the fact, I am actually creating, again, more sorrow for myself. Any kind of resistance means suffering. The acceptance means, again, peace. If you see in life, when I accept things, there is peace. When I resist, I will always suffer mentally. So the samsara life is one, again, of resisting things that are happening. And that the things that happen can be explained by the karma, the order of karma. My reaction to things that happen can be explained by this subjective reality, the projection of myself onto the external world. So now the text asks, what is this karma? What is karma and what kinds of karma are there? Again, a very technical thing that it is talking about. There are, he says here, karmāṇi katividhāni santi. Iti chet āgāmisañcitaprārabdhabhedena trividhāni santi. In the text, he says, this karmāṇi, these karmas, katividhāni, how many types of karmas are there? So we have to be careful. This karma, when we say, we have to understand it as karma palam here. When we say karma, it can mean two things. It can mean action. It can also mean results of action. We don't get confused here. Karma here means the karma palam, results of action. So when you say, when something manifests for you, you know, we sometimes say when something manifests, oh, this is my karma. It is when you say this is my karma, you're saying this is my karma palam, actually my results of action. So we saw this, what types of results do we get? This is again seen result. You get a seen result, immediate result. Like if I clap, I get a seen result, which is what? The sound. That is seen result. It's called drishta palam. But if I clap and I, disturbing things in nature, suppose a bird is having a nice meal outside and I'm clapping and disturbing the birds eating. What do? I drive away the birds from their food, very hungry birds. I am doing a papa karma. That means I'm creating an unseen result by doing that to something in nature which is hungry. And that produces an unseen result. And that is what is explained in the scriptures. We don't need to worry about seen results. Seen results, even scientists can talk about. Scientists are always, dealing with seen results. The Shastra is the spiritual scientists are dealing with unseen results. So that's the difference. Here we are dealing with unseen results. We talk about an unseen result. Your unseen result is what is going to manifest for you in future. And the belief is that it is a reality. It is a law, just as you see the forces work in nature that you cannot perceive with your senses, but science explains them. In the same way, the Rishi scientists have explained this law of karma and dharma governing this universe. And we have to understand this law functions as what? The karma functions as my happiness and my sorrow. So it's very interesting because this punya and papa also, I always think, I've thought about it a lot, punya and papa manifesting. We can have a lot of punya situations in life, comforts. Punya gives comforts. This is the type of punya people like, a life of comfort, and a healthy bank account, or even a healthier bank account, healthiest bank account. And we like that comfort. Life of comfort is what most people in most countries work towards. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. Nobody wants to live in a slum. Nobody wants to live that type of life. So most people will have, this push for atta and kama, which is not wrong. People work for that. But having the atta kama, again, we examine people with tons of artha kama. How are they mentally? Maybe some are happy. We don't say some are dissatisfied. It does give buying power. Money gives buying power. Money, you can do a lot with money. You can do a lot with power. You can do a lot with name. You can do a lot with fame. It gives a certain buying power and status in society, which is a boosts up the ego of the individual. There is nothing wrong with that either. But happiness, Shastra says very clearly, is not equated with that type of punya. This is something one has to see for oneself. Punya does not equal happiness. We equate punya gain with happiness, this type of punya. So the main type of the way that punya manifests in the form of comfortable situations and this type of life that all people want. That is a punya we want. That is adrishtam manifestation. But where do you experience the punya? That is interesting. So spiritual punya doesn't depend on external circumstances. Spiritual punya is the real punya. Again, the Rishi's view, the real punya, because it takes you to spiritual knowledge and it takes you to ultimate discovery, which is independent of what you have outside. It does not depend on your comfort. That is why we read stories of sants and mahants who can live on the road, sleeping in the precincts of temples, living like homeless beggars, bhikshukahas. They can live like bhikshus, and inside they are totally happy. How would you explain that? Is it linked to comfort? Is it linked to all the possessions that one has? Is it linked to any relationship externally? No, that is a different type of punya. That is a spiritual punya manifesting, and that punya gives total happiness independent of externals. So one kind of happiness, punya, you can create, which manifests as dependent punya. I call it dependent punya. It depends on your circumstances. More comfort, you will feel happier. But there is a fear that goes along with that type of punya manifesting. What is that fear? The fear of loss. There is always a fear accompanying, I'm going to lose this situation. It may change. I may lose the comfort and my bank account may go down. I may lose on the stock market. I may lose my investments. There is always a slight fear of loss when you have a life of comfort or you're on any kind of position and power, because we know nothing is permanent. Why do we fear? Because we know inside, ultimately, nothing is permanent. That's why nobody likes to lose position and power. You can see that even, you can see, I don't want to bring in politics, but I can see it manifesting in the world. Boris Johnson could not leave the position. He did not want to quit. Donald Trump did not want to quit. All these people who have experienced the power, the name and fame that goes with it, which gives the ego boost, they don't want to quit. You have to drive them out. Some kind of circumstance, unpleasant circumstance drives them out because it is changing. Why are we fearful? Because we want to hold on to that punya. But when your punya kala is finished, what happens? Punya kala for the president, if you call it punya kala, President of United States of America, the punya kala to be in the highest position in the world. They say that the most powerful position in the world, to have that punya is 8 years max. Then after that punya is finished, exhausted, you're driven out. You're driven out, meaning nobody even bothers who you are. Who is Obama? No, what is Obama doing? Nobody cares what he's doing now. I don't know who follows. But I'm just saying, when you're off power, you're off that, your punya is exhausted, then you actually, again, nobody bothers about you. When you're in the limelight, in the power, then you have that. Again, everybody will say everything, but things are always changing. How many leaders the world has seen? Where have they all gone? How many powerful people the world has seen? Where have they all gone? This clinging to this comfort and the power and name and fame, again, is not the punya that spiritual aspirant looks for, because we know it is temporary punya. And when you lose what you have, what temporary punya brings, you're going to lose it in the long term. Spiritual punya, although it is also temporary, because any punya and papa will always also be temporary, it is not permanent, but it gives you the direction to enter the permanent discovery in life. Spiritual punya can create circumstances for you where you have access to spiritual knowledge. You have access to, even your infrastructure is made where you have access to also the teaching, the teacher. All of this is spiritual punya manifestation. And you also have the right frame of mind to be interested in this knowledge, to understand this knowledge. That is spiritual punya manifesting. That our Rishi said, that is the greatest type of punya. And when do you get that punya opportunity? Again, it is said, it is not in this life. It is picking up the thread. Bhagavan talks about it. You cannot just come arbitrarily to, again, this type of Shravanam. Bhagavan says it must have been some janma. You pick up the thread, connect to the teaching, Vedanta, connect to what Bhagavan is saying in Bhagavad Gita or all the texts, and it manifests as something which is blessing the life. It has a transformative effect. It should have ultimately on the way you see things, the way you deal with the world, the way you live your life with people and the relationships you're in. So this spiritual punya is again, we then this in the scheme of things, this is what the rishis say is most important. But going back to our Tattvabodha, when you plant a seed, he says very clearly, when you plant a seed, the tree does not come up immediately. It takes time for the plant to grow. In the same way, karma may not manifest immediately. You cannot, and this is the interesting thing, you cannot link your present action with what is going to happen to you in your life. We connect present action with what is manifesting in our lives. It is very interesting that Shastra doesn't connect like that. What is manifesting for you need not be the result of what you're doing. That is the interesting thing. And when you understand this fact, if what you're doing and what you get don't match, you will be okay with it because you understand the fact. What is manifesting is maybe from Purva Janma. What is manifesting for you is maybe from another lifetime, which is unconnected with what you're doing in this lifetime. So when you understand that, there will be, again, an acceptance that dawns in the mind. There will be a peace that dawns in the mind. And this is what this text also starts talking about now. Trividhāni santi. There are three types of karma. Āgāmi, one is called āgāmi karma, one is called sañcita karma, and one is called prārabdha karma. They're divided into three. Why are they divided into three? Because they manifest at different times in your lives or lifetimes. That is why there's three of them. All the karmas which are in your account, the karmic account, which are unmanifest in nature, they are not manifest, they are called sañcita karma. So the whole karma that you have in your life, everything, lifetimes, not just one life, everything you have gathered, we will see a bit more. It explains the text what sañcita karma is. But these karmas are unmanifest. They're like a pot of seeds that you carry with you from janma, janma, janma. You carry this, I wouldn't even say pot, it is a baggage of huge baggage we have of millions of births. We have not just had one birth. We have not just had two births. To come to life and to come also to do Vedanta, that is also said, to do Vedanta Shravanam, you had to have millions of births. From rock to animal to plant, so many different births, humans, we don't know what kind of, we could have been Stone Age, from Stone Age times, how many lifetimes, so many different wombs, so many different situations, times we have gone through. We don't know what is in our past. Bhagavan has very kindly covered that with his Avarana Shaktis, hidden our past lives from us. Thank God, because one life is so difficult to handle. Imagine if you had memories from all your past lives. He did that to me, she did this to me in that life, this life. You would remember so many things from Purva Janmas, very tough to handle. So Bhagavan has covered past lives. He said, deal with this life, improve your life from this life. Even the memories from childhood from this life are enough to deal with. So unmanifest, he keeps that unmanifest. The karmas from those life, he has said, let it be unmanifest as the baggage in, baggage body. Those which manifest now in this particular birth, what is that? The karmas that manifest now are called your prārabdha karmas. These are karmas that you have to go through in this particular lifetime itself. These are things you have to exhaust. It is like as soon as you come out of your mother's womb, soon as that first cry is heard of the baby, that is it. Your prarabdha has already started. In fact, the seventh month, when the sukshma enters, we said, no, when it enters the physical body, prarabdha has started. So prarabdha starting means you have to undergo the experiences which have already been again set out for you. This jiva has to experience. There is a roadmap. If you see the roadmap, if you understand a bit of Jyotisha Shastra, as I said, it is very interesting. This is Vedic astrology, because if you can read, it is like a roadmap. It really shows very clearly what samskaras I come with. It is there in the roadmap. What dashas I have to face in my life. It is in the roadmap. Dasha means the big planetary changes, shifts. The roadmap is already given. Shani Dasha, if you have to go through Saturn's Dasha, definitely it means you will have some spiritual visits here and there. Saturn drives, even though Saturn gives you, they say Saturn gives sorrow, but it drives you to spiritual life. So a lot of people who go into temple visiting and yatras and all of this will have Saturn again in their chart that shows they will go for all those things. Rahu, Ketu are also very interesting. They will also drive you. These are all karmic retribution planets. So where your Rahu, Ketu is in your chart will determine, what karma you have to exhaust in this birth, and the Ketu can show you what you brought from past birth. So past birth means you have already exhausted that, meaning you have learned that lesson in life. Now in present, what lesson do you have to learn is where Rahu is placed in the chart. Very interesting. I have seen it gives a general roadmap. We cannot be so predictive saying this can happen, this is going to happen, but there is an idea that there is some order. Because how else would that become a science then? It is Jyotisha Shastra is a science of the planetary influences on a jiva's life. So very interestingly, that is also your karma. So your chart is a map. The map you're born with is karma. You have certain flexibility within that map. Certain flexibility means free will becomes operational. You're also blessed with free will. Free will, when you exercise, you can shift that map to a certain extent. You can also make changes. That is why there are a couple of maps throughout one's life given in the chart. The basic chart is there, but after a certain age, some other charts become predominant as well. So you can, interestingly, you start shifting certain things in your life using your free will. These karmas are an unmanifest condition. So unmanifest karmas can only manifest when you make the effort to make them manifest, right? Everybody has a storage of punya and papa in their account, but you have to decide when they manifest. You make the effort to invoke Bhagavan's grace, because he can speed up. You can affect that supercomputer by your efforts. That's the amazing thing. There may be something ready for manifestation, some big papa karma or something going to manifest through intense prayer, regular. That's why I always say, not as the Shastra, regular prayer and worship has ability to ward off great obstacles. We don't say you will be obstacle free in your life. There's no guarantee like that. But definitely prayer is one of the things. The ritualistic type of worship also is one way of doing it, or reaching out activities. There are two ways to have this, invoke this. But as a spiritual aspirant interested in moksha, I'm not doing it again for material results. I'm doing it for my spiritual journey to be unobstructed. My unobstructed spiritual journey is very important. If things keep coming, then it's difficult. So I try to do certain practice to avoid or avert, these papas coming. So the supercomputer will calculate, this is offsetting karma, prayaschitta karma. If you do these pariharas or offsetting karmas, you can actually delay you keep delaying that phalam, it goes back on the list. So that supercomputer will put it back on the list and some other phalam will manifest. It's quite scientifically explained actually. So you have a whole big account which is called sañcita. The manifest, what is manifest here is your prarabdha, which is again your roadmap of your jyotisha, your thing, what you have to go through in this life. Certain experiences we cannot avoid. I have to be clear about that because your prarabdha will determine what you can use your free will over, you can transform, but certain experiences we cannot avoid in life. They are prabala prarabdha or very, very strong karma that one has to live through. There is no other way to exhaust it. And whole of life is to exhaust this karma, prarabdha karma. So manifest in nature is called prarabdha karma. This is the second type of karma. And karmas that can manifest in future, the actions you do now in this present moment, they go into an account called āgāmi karma. Āgāmi karma are karmas that can manifest in future. So āgāmi goes, again, all these āgāmi karmas go into your sañcita account only. So the sañcita is like the savings account. What is going to go, sañcita contains the seeds of the past and it contains seeds of the future as well. So āgāmi karma is what you're going to do. Here, the text talks about this jnani. Suddenly it talks about a jnani, but I'm going to do that when we talk about the jnani. But as an ajnani, as a person who is ignorant, who doesn't know the fullness of oneself, we have to understand these karmas and we have to, again, accept certain facts in our life. So, sañcita karma kim, the text says, ananta koti janmanam bijabhutam satyat karma jatam purva arjitam tishtati tat sanchitam gneyam. The text says that this sanchita means samyakchita, well gathered, well collected, well kept karma. Whatever actions you have done, they have been well gathered, like fixed deposits put in your account there, savings account. And they have been gathered through your actions of the past. Using your free will, using your thought, you have done actions, deliberately in the past lives. And these deliberate actions, karma jatam, have gone to make this sanchita account. Purvarjitam means from past life. And he says here, bijabhutam, which means they are the seed for your countless births in future. There are already seeds there for countless birth. And whatever combination you get, you don't know. Next lifetime could be another combination. You could get certain combinations next janma, we don't know. That is, again, the supercomputer decides. Your combination could mean that you're born somewhere in Kazakhstan. I don't know why Kazakhstan comes in my head. You may be born, we don't know, in America. You could be born anywhere. But it is the bijabhutam, the combination that comes together. Again, it is like, who decides the combination? So a supercomputer calculates, let's have this experience, this experience, this experience. What is the best body to exhaust this experience? Okay, we'll put this jiva here. It sounds very, very interesting. That is how supercomputer Ishvara does. So whatever experience is there, again, for your growth, so he will decide depending on what will help you, again, for spiritual growth, because ultimately everybody's heading towards the one goal, which is moksha. Shastra says that. So what is going to help you spiritually grow? Bhagavan will decide which body you get in the next birth. You have already planted the seed for it. So there's limitless thousands of lives. The text says, Ananta Koti Janma. Ananta Koti Janmanam means you have limitless, countless lives in your sanchita account waiting to be exhausted. We cannot exhaust all of that. There's no chance we can exhaust all our karmas we have done in past. So there is only one way to remove it. What is that? You discover yourself to be non-doer. Always you are non-doer. That's the only way you get the karma account, vanquished. You get it annulled. There is no karmic account anymore when you recognize you are the non-doer. It is like the movie screen identifying with the character on the screen and saying, oh, I'm going through this sorrow, I'm going through this joy. When the movie screen recognizes it is the movie screen, untouched by the characters on the screen, at the same time, it's lending existence to the characters on the screen. What happens? Then where's the karma for movie screen? None of the roles that are movies that are happening on the movie screen can affect it. It's exactly like that. The only way to get rid of all the karma is by understanding you are that movie screen. So this is where the sanchita karma again comes into the picture. You don't know what is in store for you. It is all there. It is unmanifest form, bija bhutam. It is going to also determine what body, type of body you're going to get, what shape of body, what health problems you go through. Everything is decided by the combination that will manifest for you in this life and next life. And what decides the combination? Ultimately, you have decided. Your right or wrong actions have decided what is going to happen to you. So we cannot blame everything on Bhagwan. You taking the decision at that time, the right, wrong actions that one does determines what kind of prarabdha karma that you have to face in this life and what agami karma you have to face, or what, in future lives, what you have to face. So we will talk a bit more about that next week. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.